This video is all about creating this shape in front of you, this figure, using dimensions and constraining fully through that, using different planes to create different parts, and also more about how to use the extrude feature, particularly in terms of using the cut. So let's begin. So at the end of this we'll have the same shape, but let's start a new part. So we're going to go to standard IPT. It's all in inches, and I'm going to create a new sketch. I'm going to use the XY axis. Again, you can stop this at any point to look and see and remind yourself of what you're doing. I do want you working along with me. So I'm going to start at the origin point. That's the point that's yellow here. Okay, I'm going to use line to create my shape. Now, generally, one way I go about it is when I'm given dimensions, I do tend to type them in initially. You can go back and adjust. But just so that I'm not far off, I know my line along the bottom here wants to be 2.5. So I'm going to put that in. Notice I kind of adjusted my viewing screen. I'm going to continue on with this. And one of the nice things about this program is that it gives you lots of reminders and information all the time. So we have the degrees on there. We also have the distance the line is, as well as the constraint. Okay, so based on my first line, you can see that it's showing me that it's also perpendicular. There's a little there's a box underneath where it says my dimension. And so I'm not too worried about the dimension right now. I'm going to kind of be somewhere around ½ inch, something like that. And I'm just going to click. Okay, that constrained that. It already identified that as being perpendicular to this other first line. Now I'm going to make this line. You'll notice that it's showing two lines in a box there, just above my last dimension. Okay, that shows it's perpendicular. So I'm going to make a perpendicular line. I'm sorry, parallel line rather. It's a parallel line to the first. I'm going to go up. So I'm making more or less an L. I'm not going to get hypersensitive about my lengths this time, but I want to go back to my starting point. Okay. Notice there's already purple on the screen here. I've just finished my drawing, so I will right-click, click OK. All right. But notice there are purple lines. Those purple lines show that it has been constrained. Okay, we'll talk more about that later, what that means. But like I said, you see this line is perpendicular to this line. It's also parallel to this other line over here. So these two lines are parallel. These two lines are also parallel. Okay, I can add constraints. But anyway, for this tutorial, we're going to look at just dimensioning. So if I got one dimension already, I do want to make sure that this line here is a particular size. And I'm going to make that size 0.75. Now it's going to adjust what this thing looks like. Okay, I'm also going to dimension this top line. Okay, I'm going to put that at 0.75 as well. All right. Please note that this line is already identified. Since this is 2.5 here, if I subtract 0.75 from the 2.5, that's going to set this as a particular length. Okay. If I change this, that line, of course, will change. But if I add a dimension in here that doesn't coordinate with the difference between those, we're going to have a problem. Okay. The last value I want to put in, that I haven't put in yet, is this overall length here. And that also wants to be 2.5. Okay. Again, you can stop this at any point, pause, and just make this sketch. Notice now, fully constrained. I've dimensionally fully constrained this because of the heights. Right? 2.5 is my overall height, and if this leg is 0.75, I know this has to be a certain length. Okay? So, now that I've got it all constrained, I've got all the dimensions I need, make sure yours is all exactly the same before moving on, I'm going to finish the sketch. Okay. Got a little big on me there. I can zoom out, zoom in. As we went over in class, there are a number of ways of doing that. And I'm going to extrude this part. Okay, so I'm going to extrude this part out. Initially, it identifies this piece here as being what wants to be extruded, and that would be correct. Okay, I want to extrude that 2.5 as well. Okay, extrude that out 2.5. There are a bunch of different pieces and parts that I can change the direction. Instead of going direction 1, I can go in direction 2. I could split that 2.5 between two different directions, or I could make it asymmetric, meaning I could also add in a different dimension up here. So instead of one direction I go 1.25, the other direction I go 2.5. I'm going to stick with my second direction. I tend to go that direction. You'll see in my tutorials. Okay, so anyway, we've got this extruded out. Press OK. I've got this part. That's the first step. So we've constrained it dimensionally. I've got this part that I've extruded in a certain distance. Now I need to add another part to this. Now I'm going to add another L, as we saw before, off of the back. Okay, that's going to go down. All right. The only way to get the shape that I'm looking for is to use the plane. Now this is a conversation point, right? Once you've created one part, you've created new planes, right? I could have a strange angle on this part that cuts off some section. I could use that as a plane. I have an option above me to also create a new work plane and a litany of a bunch of different ways you can create those other planes. For this, I'm actually just going to create a new sketch. And here's the beauty of this program. It identifies any flat surface. Okay, so any of these flat surfaces could be used as my new plane surface, and I can build off of that. So I know I want to start from this top. The area that I'm going to be working on is going to be at the very top here. So what I'm going to do is come in and make another L. So I'm going to build another L, but I'm going to do it a little differently because we want to still work on our dimensioning. Okay, so I'm going to build another L, and I don't want it to be any longer than this top. It's going to have a similar dimension. I know it's perpendicular right now because I can see the little perpendicular sign. This one wants to be parallel to the first. Again, just generally, I'm going to be making an L. Right now, I'm not too concerned. If I want to make sure this is set up, I can pull it up. It has to be parallel at the same point. Okay. Did that. I finished. Now what I want to do is go through and actually dimension this out. Now this I know is the right length, but I can also add a dimension to it. You know that wants to be, as we had before, 2.5. I'll click that. This top line as well. Okay. This line up here will also want to be 2.5. 2.5. Again, when the dialog box comes up, we can put that in. And then I want to make this line here particular size. I want that to be 0.75. Be careful what you press. 0.75, as well as this 0.75. Once I've done that, actually reconstrain. Okay. So we've got these dimensions here. I also want to place this. All right. I also want to give this a particular location within space. Notice there's a gap between these two parts. I want those to actually be connected. I want this to have zero distance between this line and the back side of this. So what I'm going to do is I can come in here, I can click on either the top corner here, this corner and this corner, or this line and this line. All right, so I'm going to come in here. I need to press two buttons though, right? I need to press two points on these two pieces, two parts. All right, and if I want zero space between the two parts, I type in 0, and there we have it. They're together now. Okay. Now there still is some green, but for our intents and purposes at this point, we have, let's just make sure that these are all connected. Okay, so we're good. There's no space in between. We've got the right sizes, right dimensions. Okay, we're going to finish the sketch at this point. All right. Now, taking this information, we want to now extrude this part. Now, because we worked in the XZ plane, right? The XZ plane that this 2D shape was placed on. Okay, I can only extrude in one direction. And although it's going to ask me, it's going to want to know what I'm extruding from, since I have other shapes here. I want to be able to extrude. Let's move that out of the way. You can always slide those around the screen. I want to extrude from this top, this new shape that I just created, straight down. Okay. My goal is to extrude it straight down. Right now, it's got me going straight up. And remember, I did it before. I can go in direction 2. All right. So I go in direction 2. It's going to send it down. Okay. I'm joining these two parts with this command here, joining. All right. And it's already given me a distance. I know I want to go to the bottom. And I know that's 2.5, so I'm all set in terms of distance, but if I wanted to, I could actually go to next and identify the bottom. Let's just go stick with the distance we have. Okay, we know it's 2.5 high, so we're going to use that. Okay, so that extrusion distance is 2.5. All right, click OK. Now I have this part. Okay, I've got this overall part. Last piece. Now I want to create a hole in the top of this portion here. Now again, as I said before, you can, any of these parts are now work planes. I can create a new plane on the top again. Any of these sides, which we know are aligned. If one is all a little slightly offset, we could use that plane. But any of these flat surfaces can be used as a work plane. So I'm going to click Create a Sketch once more. I'm going to come to this top face where I want to put my hole, and I'm going to click on it. Okay. I want to add a circle. There's a number of different types of circles, but center point circle's fine. And for right now, we're still going to practice dimensioning. I'm just going to come in here, and I'm going to place it wherever. Okay. It's going to be around 0.75, but let's not get crazy because we can always come back and dimension. I don't have to clear out of the circle. I can actually just come over and click on dimension. It knows that I'm making that move. So I'm going to dimension. First thing, I'm going to dimension my circle here to 0.75. I'm then going to dimension. Here's a beautiful thing. I want to position the circle. In order to position it, I'll always, always, always be using the center point of the circle as a reference. So I reference the center point and I reference the top. That's going to give me a distance. Okay? I can now dimension that to wherever I want it to be. In this case, I want that location to be 1.25 from the top. Okay? And I also want it to be 1.25 from this outside edge here. So I click on this outside edge. Notice how it wants to suddenly give me a dimension there. Don't want that. I click a second time on the center point, drag that down. Okay. I'm going to also put in, that's going to be 0.75 actually. Put that as 0.75. Okay. Now this now has been located at a particular place. It's got a certain size. It's located 1.25 from the top and 0.75 from the front. That's all I can do for this in terms of dimensioning and placement. Got all the information I need. I'm now going to extrude. Now, we've been working with the join. That takes and adds material. We're going to do cut this time. Let's just cut. We won't be doing too much intersections, so don't worry about that right now. But cut. Join and cut are the main two extrusions we're going to do. Okay, so cut, and we're going to come in here to this, and we're going to cut out a piece. Now, it already knows which direction I want to go, but again, if for some reason it was pointing up, or for whatever reason, you could change that. Now there's other pieces you can work from. Extents, we can change it to next, to, between, and all. A lot of times you'll use all because it's really quite easy. Or we might have another part down below, or say I wanted to put a hole through two sides of this. I could put in extrude cut, punch through both walls. Okay, so everything that's there. So let's just do that. All right, it already knows the depth. It doesn't really matter. I've got a hole going through there. You notice the bottom where it's showing. All right. And once you've got to this point, just click OK, and now you've created that part. All right, using the different surfaces as work planes. Okay, using the extrude cut and extrude join features, using dimensions as well to place figures, or place sketch profiles. Okay. Please ask me if you have any questions. Thank you.